Alrighty, so today I'm going to be drawing with a Zebra Sarasa Clip 0.3 millimeter sized gel pen for the first time, and I'm going to be giving it a full review as well, which I am looking forward to doing more so than not, as I have heard better things than not about this pen right here. I've heard that the ink itself is pretty nice, and I've heard that it writes and draws better so than not. But since I haven't actually tried this pen for myself quite yet, I don't know anything for sure. And so, of course, I am looking forward to finding out just how bad this pen really is. But what exactly is this pen right here? Well, of course, as said, it is the Zebra Sarasa Clip 0.3 millimeter sized gel pen, with this one in particular having black ink, although they do offer multiple ink colors. This pen is a part of the Sarasa line, but it is a little bit different than a normal Sarasa pen, because on normal Sarasa pens, the clip itself just looks like this. There's not really much flexibility to it or anything like that kind of thing. It's just a plastic piece, as we can see. But on this pen, on the other hand, the clip itself actually has some sort of spring in it or something like that kind of thing, and that allows the piece to move up and down just like that. And the reason why they have that piece move up and down just like that, and the reason why they designed this pen like they did, is so you can actually clip it onto like thick book covers and in binders and just on thicker things in general than you can with a normal Zebra Sarasa. That's why this pen right here actually exists, and that's what this pen is and what the differences are between the Zebra Sarasa Clip and the normal Zebra Sarasa, from what I know at least. I do suppose, without further ado, before I go ahead and actually get this pen all out, and before I go ahead and actually get to drawing with it, I should probably first off go over the packaging. Now, shouldn't I? After go over the packaging of this pen, I'm going to go ahead and get the pen all out. I'm going to go and let you guys know what it actually looks like, what it feels like, what the quality is like, how it feels in hand, what the weight of it is like, basically everything that you might want to know before you actually go ahead and get to drawing. And then after that, I'm going to go and actually get to drawing with this pen right here. And I'm going to let you all know just how good or just how bad the Zebra Sarasa Clip 0.3 millimeter size gel pen actually is. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts on it, give it a rating, and I'm going to end the video right there. But first off, as said, we got to go over the packaging, which is a little bit more basic than not at a glance, but there is some interesting stuff going on. We see there is a black background up here with some white details. Then we can see there's black on this side, white on this side, white details on this side, really no details on this side. And then there's like a little bit of a logo right there. And we can see this is just clear plastic. We can see the pen through the plastic, but there is a background to that clear plastic on the other side of the plastic, of course. And right here, it just says Sarasa Clip right there, all in white. That is a very cool little detail for the background of the packaging on the clear area of the plastic. That's something I really do appreciate, in all honesty. Starting off at the top, though, we can see, as said, we get a black background, clear on either side. Just says Zebra right up there in white. Then under that, it just says Sarasa Clip, just like that, in a little bit of a stylized font. There's some Japanese under that, and that once again just says Sarasa Clip. Then there's a little bit of a white sort of background right here, and it just says like gel pen or something like that. I can't remember. I think it says like gel pen, black ink, something like that right there, or maybe it says black right there. I can't remember exactly what the Japanese text says, but it does say something along those lines. We can see it just has a little bit of a 0.3 millimeter size, little design right there. And then there's some more Japanese on this side that basically just says, if I remember correctly at least, gel pen, just classic like it should be, or good like it should be, or something along those lines. We can see the Sarasa Clip design right there, that I pointed out previously. And then we can see there's a little bit of a sort of just white sort of box right there with a little bit of a Sarasa. Is it a clip or is that just normal Sarasa? It looks like a Sarasa clip, as we can see the clip itself kind of bends up just a little bit. This one kind of just bends up just a little bit as well. So that's a Sarasa clip right there, a little bit of a heart. And we can see it just says Sarasa right there. And that's pretty much all that's going on the front of the packaging. There's a little bit more black right there, but more so than not, it is a simple design. Probably my favorite thing about this packaging as a whole is this Sarasa logo itself and this little design bit right here. That is something I really do like, but more so than not, this packaging is a little bit more basic than not, but it is very functional, and aesthetically, it does look a little bit better than not, in my personal opinion. It's not like the most out there packaging. It doesn't really call out to your eyes to any significant degree, but it does its job in telling you what it is, and it does its job in well, catching your eye a little bit better than not, and just looking a little bit better than not as a whole. Without further ado, let's go move on to the back of the packaging. We see the back of the packaging. One side is gray, one side is white. We see Sarasa clip just kind of reversed just right there. We can see it just tells you how to throw away the packaging at the very top right there in black. Then it just says 0.3 millimeters right there, which gives you an example of what the line is going to look like right there. We can see a bunch of sort of just product information and whatnot. Looks like the insert you want to use for this pen is the Zebra JF-0.3 insert. And then there's some like information about Zebra itself, like where they're located, what their phone number is, what their website is, and everything like that kind of thing. We get to the barcode over on this side with the actual product code for this pen being the P-JJH15-BK. And then we see it just says binder clip right there. So you know that this clip works on binders. And then it just says, like, I think that's just like earth friendly or something like that kind of thing. Not exactly sure. That's pretty much all that's going on with the back of the packaging. Pretty much just letting you know, pretty much just what's going on with the pen, all the functionality, all the acknowledgments they need to make, like don't write with this pen in 120-degree weathers because it's probably going to melt on you. It's probably going to moo on you. It's probably going to melt on you. Yeah, probably like 120-degree weather is probably a bad idea to use any pen in all honesty. But without further ado, now that I've covered the packaging and now that I've said that I like the packaging a little bit more so than not, I do suppose it's time for me to go and actually get this pen out. And it's time for me to go and let you guys know what this pen actually looks like, what it feels like, what the quality is like, what it feels like in hand, and basically everything you want to know about the pen before you go ahead and get to writing or drawing with it for the first time. So let's just go ahead and just get this open just like that. And let's go ahead and see if I can just get the pen out. And there we go. Let's go and just put that down just for a minute. Let's go ahead and I just realized I forgot to grab a screenshot. I just completely forgot to grab a screenshot for the thumbnail of this video. Let's, glad I didn't cut that. Glad I did not cut the packaging. Let's grab a little bit of a thumbnail real quick for the video, if I possibly can. Just grab myself a bunch of different ones, you know what I'm saying? Well, hopefully one of those will work. Let's go ahead and get the pen out of the packaging once again. My bad for forgetting to grab a screenshot. I gotta do it, you know what I'm saying? Gotta do it. Just gonna put this off to the side. Don't need that no more. And let's just go ahead and just mess around with the pen just for a moment. This certainly does go up a little bit more so than not. That's about at the max point it can go. I can kind of shove my finger under there just a little bit. And even when you have it lifted up, there's a little bit more room to go. So you can definitely, there's a little bit of wiggle room. I definitely have to say with the clip. The clip itself, not sure if there's a spring or if it's just some sort of metal piece kind of just making it go back. Probably just the metal piece in all honesty. With that out, this definitely does rattle just a little bit, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. But without that out, just a little bit of rattling, not too much by any means. Let's go ahead and just take this apart real quick, and we can see it comes apart. Does this come apart in a different way or in the same way? Ooh, okay, this is a little bit different from the normal Zebra Sarasa. This is my normal Zebra Sarasa. It comes out like that. And this, oh, it's not quite the same. Are the springs the same? The springs are exactly the same. There's no difference. The size of this themselves, they're exactly the same pretty much, but there is some difference. The pens do come apart differently. So the Zebra Sarasa, the classic one, comes apart differently than a Sarasa clip. That is something you wouldn't really expect because these are supposed to be the exact same pens except the clip one just having a different clip. So it's not just that they're slightly different pens, it's that they are different pens. That is one thing I do want to acknowledge. They're part of the same line, but I am now learning that they are actually quite different pens. So do keep that in mind. They might have a little bit of a different weight to each other, but as a whole, you know, feels like a cheapy sort of semi-disposable pen, something you can use refills on, but something you don't have to use refills on by any means. Overall, you know, looks pretty basic, looks pretty decent. I'd have to say it looks a little bit better than this pen. Starting off at the very top right here, we could see a sort of, I'd have to say, slightly white glaze clear plastic that you can see the nib and the spring under. Then we go to a black sort of, I'd have to say, silicone piece right there. We can see there's a bunch of vertical lines in this piece to help with grip and whatnot. This is the grippy piece right here and whatnot. And it feels decent in hand, I definitely have to say. I'd definitely be a little bit worried if I was to leave this out in the sun. I think if I was to leave this silicone out in the sun, it would probably get really hot and get a little bit sticky. So that is something that you probably do want to be careful of. The silicone piece itself is also a little bit different than on the normal Zebra Sarasa. Like form factor wise, these are pretty much the exact same size, but it just comes across a little bit differently. On the Sarasa clip, this piece is a little bit longer, whereas on this piece it ends a little bit up. And I'd also have to say that this piece has a little bit of a piece at the end that kind of tapers up just a little bit. Same at that side. This piece has no tapering at all. So the feeling of these two pens in hand will be different. I don't know why they would choose to not just put a normal clip on, or just one of these clips on this one, and I don't know why they would decide to make it a completely different pen when it's part of the same line, but that's what they did nonetheless. Moving on from this silicone area, we can see this is where you unscrew the pen on this specific pen. Then we can see it's just clear plastic all the way to the end right there, where we can see all of that, so we can see literally everything going on and the clicky point and everything like that kind of thing. Certainly no complaints on my behalf about that. The clip itself is all a sort of just black plastic, and it just says Zebra Sarasa clip right there. And then it just has some text right there that I don't know what it says, and I think it's just like earth friendly or something like that kind of thing. And then here's the metal piece that I assume is what just kind of bends it back and forth and whatnot. I did not notice that when I first got it up. There is a metal piece right there nonetheless. Then it just says 0.3 right there. All of that text is in sort of a bronzy sort of color, which looks pretty good in my personal opinion. And that's pretty much all that's going on look-wise with the pen itself. There's a little bit of a design right there. Just says R-PC.PP Japan. And then above that, we can see there's just the black sort of clicky bit right there. And that's pretty much all that's going on look-wise with this pen. In hand, without the nib out, it feels very centrally weighted and doesn't feel bad by any means. Compared to this pen, I'd have to say this pen feels a little bit, like the plastic up here doesn't feel thicker in hand, but the actual silicone itself definitely feels thicker in hand, just because it is a little bit thicker. This is definitely a little bit of a thinner silicone, I'd have to say, but it feels decent in hand, even for hands that are my size. I've got like medium to large size hands, I'd have to say. So you're definitely gonna like this if you have medium or smaller hands. But if you have really large hands, I do think that this pen might be a bit small for you, but it feels centrally weighted. The overall weight of the pen, it's not super heavy, not super light by any means. It's, you know, it's about what you expect from a plastic sort of semi-disposable pen, frankly put. Not too bad weight-wise, just a sort of a basic sort of just weight kind of thing. Just not too heavy, not too light. About average for a pen like this. With the insert out itself, it is much more front heavy than not. It is very front heavy with the insert out, I would definitely have to say. And it feels pretty nice. Yeah, it feels pretty nice with the insert out, just kind of holding it like that and whatnot kind of thing. It's definitely, very comfortable. The sort of clear plastic slides in my hand very well. And yeah, very nice with the tip out. Without the tip out, it's much more centrally weighted. It's definitely not as nice if you were to write with it with this weight, but with it out, it feels nice. It feels nice to say the least. That is, I think I'm going to enjoy drawing with this pen in all honesty. It's much more front weighted than not, but the weight isn't anything too significant. The main significance from the pen itself definitely comes from the way the weight is oriented, as in it's very front weighted. And it definitely also comes from the, I'd have to say, grip itself, because the grip extends all the way down to here, which is honestly really nice because I like holding my pen kind of up close and whatnot, up close to the tip. And so that's actually really nice, and that's something I actually really appreciate, frankly put. Well, I do suppose without further ado, it is now time for me to go ahead and actually grab my Soho Urban Artist Sketchbook so I can actually draw with this pen right here for the first time. So I can actually draw with my Zebra Sarasa Clip 0.3 millimeter sized gel pen for the first time and let you guys know just how good or just how bad it actually is. So without further ado, let's go and flip to the nearest open page if I possibly can. And now that I am there, let's go ahead and just flip that over just like that. Let's go and just make sure that it's all centered in the page and whatnot. And let's go and just do some doodling real quick after I get this little pink ball on the end all off. That little pink ball, of course, is just there to make sure it doesn't dry out in shipping or anything like that kind of thing. And let's just give it a little bit to warm up. It doesn't really appear like it needed too much warm up time, but giving it a little bit because I am seeing some sort of speckle areas where it's kind of lifting off and not being super great. So I'm just going to give it some warm up time. This pen, just right off the bat, I'm noticing it definitely does not perform very well when you are not drawing straight up and down. When you're drawing straight up and down, it's definitely a lot better. Still not great right there. As far as like 0.3 millimeter sized inks go, this one is definitely a little bit darker than not. It's not super dark by any means, but it's definitely darker than some others I have seen in the past. It's definitely got a decent amount of distinctness to it, which is something I do appreciate. And with this pen, it layers decently. It doesn't layer amazingly by any means. The ink itself never really gets super dark is something I am noticing right off the bat. Like, it definitely does get darker, but not like super dark by any means. And it definitely does like to float. It really does. This pen, this cartridge, it does like to float. And that's something I did not notice on the 0.5 millimeter size, just normal Sarasa I have right here. That is not something I noticed. So, you know, this pen, it does like to float. It does like to kind of do some little bits right there kind of thing. That was me pressing down, but I'm still missing a line right there. So that is something to acknowledge. This pen, I don't know if it's really good for drawing. It might be good for writing, especially since you're really going to be holding it more up and down when you're writing, I feel like, at least. But yeah, let's flip over to the next page and let's do some writing real quick. Is this pen smooth for a 0.3 millimeter size pen? Surprisingly so. It is quite smooth. Of course, as with the size of this pen, there is just a little bit of roughness, just due to the size kind of thing, and due to this paper being a little bit rough. But when compared to some other pens I've used that are like 0.25 or 0.28, this, as a 0.3 millimeter size pen, is not bad by any means. It is actually quite smooth when compared to some other pens I've used. When compared to, like, let's say a Pilot High-Tech C or G-Tech C, this is way smoother. I mean, like, granted, those pens are like really small, but definitely, like, do I have one with me? I have a High-Tech C, and that's a 0.25. It's only 0.05 smaller than this pen, and this pen is way smoother than those. So for a 0.3 millimeter size pen, this is very smooth, which is something I do really like. But even though I've given it time to warm up, it's still skipping a little bit faster than not. And one thing I'm noticing with when it's skipping is when it's kind of moving fast. Like, it's not really skipping right here. I'm trying to get it to skip. Maybe it's user error. Okay, so it did skip a little bit right there. So really, when it's moving fast, it starts to maybe skip just a little bit. Like, doing that, like, really fast, it's skipping just a little bit. I can definitely tell the tip is a bit too small to just have the ink flow that much. So the ink flow is just too slow for really fast movement, so it does start to skip just a little bit. But if you're moving the pen slowly, the ink is more... The ink is more distinct than not, I'd have to say. Like, I'd have to say, like, moving the pen like that, no issues. No issues. But as soon as I go like that, it definitely does get a little bit lighter. You can definitely tell the ink flow, definitely not as good. So, yeah, with this pen being a 0.3 millimeter size, it does not really like to move very fast. When you move this pen fast, you do risk it's skipping just a little bit. That is one negative of this pen, but the positive might outweigh the negative to you. For a 0.3 millimeter size pen, this pen is very smooth. It's very, very surprisingly smooth in all honesty. I don't know if it's quite the smoothest I've ever used, but for this size at least. It's definitely not the smoothest pen I've ever used, but for this size, it's very smooth, and it's one of the smoother ones I have used in recent memory, in all honesty. You know, I don't mind it. The ink itself, when you're moving slowly, is definitely much more distinct when than when you're moving fast. Like this side is definitely a little bit more distinct than this side, if you ask me. The ink itself is dark, but it's not like the darkest. There's definitely other pens out there that have darker ink at this same size, but this is definitely not super light either. There's definitely pens out there that have lighter ink at this same size as well. So this is right in the middle for ink darkness, if you ask me, for the size at least. Ink darkness, just about right in the middle, frankly put. Very smooth though. That's definitely a standout feature for me. And I'd have to say the main negative of this pen that I'm experiencing so far really is just the skipping. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. You just can't use the pen super fast. You can't make super fast movements with the pen. But as long as you keep that in mind, as long as you don't do super fast movements, I think you're going to be all good in all honesty. Let's go ahead and just do one other thing on this page. I just kind of want to draw just a little bit just to make sure this pen is comfortable. So far, I've definitely found this pen to be more comfortable than not. It's weighted towards the front, as previously said, which just makes it really easy to just keep your pen on the paper. I definitely have to say, when you're, like, you can write sideways, but like when you're moving it fast, oh, it really doesn't like that. If you're going to move fast, you want it to be straight up and down for sure, but you can do stuff to the side if you it doesn't really do it does stuff to the side okay. This pen definitely prefers being more straight up and down than not, for sure. So yeah, this is definitely a pen that is front weighted, likes being used almost straight up and down, if not just at a little bit of an angle. It's much smoother than not, but it does like to skip, so you can't use it super fast. So it'll skip when you're kind of using it at an angle and when you're using it a little bit faster than not. So those are some things to keep in mind. But without further ado, let's go and just flip the page over and let's go ahead and just do a little bit of a drawing. I'm going to take off my watch real quick, and I'm going to go ahead and now get to drawing just a little bit more so than what do I want to draw? I think I'm going to draw a little bit of a fish. And as I am drawing a little bit more slowly than not, we can see that the ink is coming through quite distinctly, even though I am using it at a little bit of an angle, a little bit more than just a little bit of an angle. But we can definitely see when I'm using it at kind of an extreme angle, like this line right here is quite nice and distinct and whatnot. And it does get a little bit less distinct as I continue to use the angle. As we can see kind of up here, it's a little bit less distinct, I'd have to say. And with the teeth, I was kind of at a really big angle because I was kind of trying to go down and then back up and then down and back up, not trying to like be right over, so I smeared or anything like that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely does not perform the greatest at an angle. It can perform at an angle, not the greatest though. It's kind of a pen that likes to be used straight up and down. And we can definitely tell that as well. These teeth right here are just so much more distinct than these two teeth right here, which I did at an angle. And it honestly really is a shame that this pen does not perform very well at an angle, because honestly, it's really comfortable at an angle. It's most comfortable at an angle, I'd have to say. I'm like, straight up and down, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely most comfortable kind of at like an angle like this. So it is kind of a shame that it does not perform the greatest at an angle, in all honesty. And I know I said a little bit earlier on in the video that this ink is not really layering super well. It doesn't ever really get super dark. It's definitely getting a bit darker now. Maybe it was just because I was being really fast with it. But definitely when you're going a little bit slower, it does layer quite well, and it does get quite deep. So you definitely can make dark colors You definitely can make very distinct colors with this pen, as long as you layer and as long as you go slowly. But if you're going fast, it's not going to be as possible. This pen is okay for a sketchy look in my opinion as well. It's not the greatest. I think there are other pens out there that are better for sketchy looks. And I'm just noticing this pen, its consistency, even though I'm using it straight up and down, it's still skipping just a little bit. I'm not even using it very fast. I'm just kind of keeping it on the paper, and it's not really liking it. This pen, I'm getting the distinct impression, is kind of meant for short bursts, or just kind of like short bursts of note-taking or something like that kind of thing. It's not really meant for long periods of drawing, and this is not even a long period of drawing. I have had pens kind of start to give out after like 15 minutes, and they're like, bro, please take a break. This pen is kind of giving me that in like 2 minutes. Yeah. I'll admit, you know, for journaling or something like that kind of thing, this pen might be good. For my uses, though, no, not really. I don't really like this pen all that much. It's okay. That's about it. I really want to like this pen because I like the 0.5 millimeter size Sarasa I have. And maybe I'd like a 0.5 millimeter size Sarasa clip. Maybe I would, but the 0.3, I'm not really a particularly big fan of. There are other pens out there that I would much rather use instead of this one, for sure. Oh, one thing I forgot to test. Does this ink smear? Let's just test that real quick. Just on the back of this paper. Actually, probably a bad idea. We can see, what is it doing there? That is unacceptable. Does not smear, though. I'm holding it straight up and down. Look at that inconsistency, y'all. It does not like being used for long periods of time at all. This pen really is a short burst pen. This pen does not smear, though. No smearing at all. I mean, like, most pens that are this size don't really smear. If they smear at all, it's just a little bit. This pen does not smear at all, which is something that is good, of course. I prefer pens that don't smear, generally speaking, although pens that do smear do tend to have a deeper, darker ink color. There's benefits and downsides. As with everything, you can't have your cake and eat it too most of the time. Sometimes you can, but not all the time. All right, and that is the fish pretty much all done. I think I am now ready to talk about kind of what I think of this pen. So while I'm finishing this up, what are my final thoughts on the Zebra Sarasa. I guess it's not really Sarasa, it's more Sarasa, I guess is really the right way of pronouncing it. But what are my final thoughts on the Zebra Sarasa, however you want to say it? You know, I don't mind the look of this pen. You know, the clip thing, it's cool. It's not something I'm really ever going to use. But objectively, as far as usability goes, it's just so mid. It's so mid. I love the fact that it's 0.3 millimeter. I think smaller pens are cool. I like them. They do come with a host of problems, though, which is why my favorite size, generally speaking, is anywhere from a 0.5 to 0.7, just because you get the smaller size and not the host of problems that really small sizes get. And this pen is like just on the edge of getting those problems. Like smaller size pens, like 0.25s and stuff, they start to try to cut through the paper, they start getting skipping issues, they start drying out and not wanting to work, and they get like stoppages of ink, and they don't work until you like heat them up with a heat gun and stuff like that kind of thing. This pen is definitely, it's kind of on the cusp of getting those issues. You know, I got to give this pen some credit, though. It does look good. It does feel really good in hand. With it out, oh man, it feels so nice in hand. It's really comfortable. Maybe a bit small for my hand, in all honesty, but not too bad. Still a very comfortable pen, especially for the price. This pen costs like $175 on a lot of sites in the United States. It's a pretty comfortable pen for the price. And you know, I really want to like this pen. I like the size. I like how it feels in hand. I like the look of it. I like the gimmick that you have a clip and everything like that kind of thing. But, you know, I just can't like this pen. The ink itself can be distinct, but you have to draw up and down, straight up and down, to get it to be distinct in any way, shape, or form. You cannot use this pen at an angle to any real degree, and you also cannot use this pen too fast. If you are too fast with this pen, the ink starts to become less distinct, and then it starts to skip out. And the same can be said for when you're using it at an angle. Yeah, you know, I really want to like this pen. I really do. But I just don't like it that much. Really, my main issue with this pen is the fact that it skips ink. Is that it starts skipping. It starts floating. I don't like that. I'm holding it down on the paper firmly, and it's still doing it. That's unacceptable for me, at least. And it's something I don't like. This pen, for me at least, it doesn't seem like it's meant for artists by any means, and I don't think it is. I use my gel pens for art. I really like using gel pens for art. This is not meant for artists. This is meant for quick note jotting, note taking. You got a little bit of a moleskin notebook. You tuck it in just like that and everything like that kind of thing. You fold it up, you clip it just like that kind of thing into your moleskin notebook and whatnot. And you have an idea and you write it down just like that, and then that's all. Just write it down slowly. You can't write it down fast because otherwise this pen will start skipping. That's what this pen is really for, frankly, but it's not really meant for art. And for my uses, it's not a very good pen. Was there anything else I liked or disliked about the pen? I liked the weight and how the weight came across with it being very front weighted. I like how it felt in hand. I thought the ergonomics of it were pretty good. I think the black is distinct, but not super distinct. It's right about in the middle for this size pen. I like the fact that it doesn't smear. I like the fact that the ink doesn't smear. And was there anything else I wanted to mention? Oh yeah, I really like how smooth it is on paper as well. This pen is super smooth on paper, but even with all those positives, that's like 5 positives. The downsides, the negatives of this pen really do just outweigh them. The skipping and the fact that the skipping due to the fact that you can't, sorry, I'm getting words all jumbled up. The skipping, which is caused by either using the pen too fast or caused by using it at an angle, not even a super deep angle. It's just something I can't stand. And there's other pens in the similar size that can do that. And then just the skipping, frankly put. Really, I just can't stand that. That's something I don't like. And that's something that will have an effect on your art. It will make your art look worse. So I'll certainly use the rest of this pen eventually. I'll probably keep it as a backup pen in my backpack or something like that kind of thing, like while I'm traveling kind of thing. Like if I accidentally lose this pen, you know, I'm not too worried about it, but it'll work for customs forums just fine and whatnot. But if I lose it, I ain't stressing by any means. That's probably what this pen is going to be designated as. It's going to be designated as a travel pen that I don't care about losing, in all honesty. Overall, what is the rating I'm thinking I want to give the Zebra Sarasa Clip Gel Pen? You know, the bigger sizes might be better. The 0.3 is the smallest size. The 0.5, 0.7, 1.0 might be better. But for this specific size, at least, it's getting a 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4. There's enough things about it that I like to not bump it all the way down to a 1 out of 4, but it's a 2 out of 4 because it's a pen I would not buy again, nor is it a pen that I would really recommend buying. I think for specific uses, it's good. I think if you're using it for just note jotting, it's not a bad pen. But it's really very specific use case. If you're just using it for note jotting and you want to tuck it in your moleskin, that's kind of what it's for. If you just want to tuck it in your binder or something like that kind of thing, that's what it's for. But other than that, there's better pens out there. For that specific use case, it's an okay pen. But nah. 2 out of 4. For context, my rating scale goes from a 1 to 4, with 1 being like, this is horrible, never buy this. A 2 being like, this is okay. I wouldn't buy it again personally, but, I guess I'll use it if I already own it. A 3 out of 4 is like, yeah, it's pretty good. I'll buy this again, but it's not like the best thing ever. And a 4 out of 4 is like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. 2 out of 4 for this pen right here. Something that, since I own it, I guess I'll use it, but I don't really like it all that much. It's kind of how I feel about this pen. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the Zebra Sarasa Clip 0.3mm size pen. Do you guys like it? Do you guys not? Let me know in the comments down below. And let me know if you guys think I'm wrong about this pen or if you guys think I'm right. Just let me know in general. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. box, and my main channel all in the description down below. Go check it all out. But, thank you so much for watching this video. Till the next one, stay safe and peace and have a great one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm saying.